It's been all business on the channel for the last month, partially because when I got to South Africa, I hit the ground running. I was working on my business visa, working on, working with my clients and essentially wanting to establish myself professionally. And I think I put a lot of pressure on myself. And so what I also realized is this community are, some of the beloved South Africans that have openly and accepted me here to the country. And then also people that are looking to make this move abroad journey that might not necessarily be totally ready to start their business. So in this video, I want to share, again, like just some personal experiences. And we're talking about the joys and the challenges of raising children abroad, specifically here on the continent of Africa. But first, let me introduce myself. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Ashley. On this channel, Ashley in Africa, I talk about my experience living, moving, and doing business here in Africa. I live in Johannesburg, South Africa. I'm a mother, an entrepreneur, a divine feminine, and I share content for people that have an interest in doing business, moving their family, and investing here on the continent of Africa. I'm also the creator of Africa Investors Academy, a membership community of entrepreneurs and investors that are growing their businesses and investing in projects here on the continent. So if that sounds interesting, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like it, and share it with someone who would find value in it as well. And so if you're not new, welcome back. For all the newbies, I have notes. I like to do my research and kind of outline my thoughts so that I'm not rambling too much and that I'm also adding the most value to your time, because I really appreciate you watching, subscribing, and sharing this content. It really helps the channel grow, and it helps me to stay encouraged to continue to provide this content to the community. So this video, we're going to talk about the joys and the challenges of raising kids in Africa. And I have to admit that I think a big part of this adjustment has been that community. I developed a really strong community when I was in Tanzania. For those that don't know, South Africa is my second country on the continent, my third country living. We lived in the US, we lived in Tanzania, and now living in South Africa. And after spending over 2 years in a place, you build a community. And I had a community. And so coming here without that established community definitely affected me a bit, because I started to feel guilty and started to feel like, man, I took my girls from what they knew, but I did that in America, right? And so what I have seen is my girls have adjusted really, really well. I had to get out of my brain, get out of my head around, the doubt and the guilt that I was really just creating from a space of, probably overthinking and criticism, mental, personal criticism. But there are some challenges, and community is a big one, but I'll get into that later, because I want to talk about the pros, because there are so many more pros than there are cons that I'm experiencing and that I believe my girls are experiencing as well. So the importance of it, I know a lot of people wonder, how do kids adjust? And that can be sometimes the biggest concern. It's around finances, it's around fear and around family. How is family going to adjust? And if you have children, how are the children going to adjust? And I'm here to tell you they adjust so well. And I work with a lot of families helping them adjust. I also have created some tools on ashleyinafrika.com that walk you through how to best prepare yourself and your kids for your new life abroad. So you can visit the link below if you want to take a visit over there. All right, so let's jump into it. It's really important to consider these because it helps you to best prepare to make that transition easy, and to also give yourself grace in the process, because my experience isn't going to be your experience and your experience won't be mine. But I hope this helps you to prepare maybe a little bit better, or can help facilitate that process for you if you're planning to make the move and if you've already made the move. So let's start about the joys. The children being exposed to the diverse culture and languages has been beautiful to see. Watching my 4-year-old sing songs in Swahili and Swana, in isiZulu, watching her sing songs and talk about her friends, her friends that she's met and their African names. It's really just brilliant to see and brilliant to watch. My oldest daughter, she's learning about African, traditional African board games, traditional African empires. She's also learning isiZulu. It's a really, really big struggle to learn a new language, but the younger you are, the easier it is. And she's struggling with learning, but it's beautiful to see her try. It encourages me to support her by speaking those languages at home and understanding certain languages. That exposure to the different music and to the dancing and the culture, which we're still growing and we're still experiencing that here in South Africa, is brilliant to see. It really just isn't, just evokes maybe some like of this endearment that I feel, because I know that that is something that they're going to be able to take with them for a lifetime. The next thing is developing independence and resilience. Because I'm not in school every day with the girls learning in classes, learning Zulu, they really have to take that by the helm. They really have to come home and do their practice, do their, their homework to help them further along in that. I've also just seen my oldest daughter take on a lot more responsibility. So traditionally in African cultures, the oldest child is meant to care for the youngest child, and, a bit more than we encourage in America. I think I've seen her just take on more of a caregiving responsibility with not only my youngest daughter, but like younger children in general. And when we're around other parents and adults, they always see how caring she is and how loving she is to younger children. And I love that, because I didn't get that skill. Like, I was not that girl. I was very much like in my own world, letting the kids do what they do. And I love seeing her take on that compassionate, caring role. It's really beautiful to watch. And as they're adjusting, I think my oldest daughter, telling her, hey, you've got a community of people you can reach out to, call on your aunts, call on your friends, FaceTime, Zoom, let's schedule some time. Let me know when you need that support outside of the times that I suggested, so that I can support you and that I can encourage you. And she's working really well with that, and I can see the independence and the resilience that is coming through her. While my 4-year-old, she's just all over the place. She is just fearless, and I think that is who she is innately, but this experience has just shown her, I think, a bit more of how she can operate in that and operate in her fullness. The next thing is the opportunity to travel and explore new places. I mean, we've now traveled, like the whole eastern side of the continent. I mean, we didn't spend a lot of time in Malawi, but we had like a full 8 hours in Malawi where we were listening to their music, eating the food, because we had a layover, 45-minute layover turned into 10 hours. And they got to experience that. We traveled throughout Tanzania, the coast, Kilimanjaro, Arusha, Marangu, Zanzibar. They've gotten to see such beauty and such different landscape. We'll be traveling soon to not Limpopo, but another one. But we'll be doing some traveling here in South Africa this month, and so I'm really excited to do that with them so that they can travel and explore. And I love adventure. It's one of my values. So I love that they get that opportunity to say that they've got international exposure and they've got passport stamps. Okay, that's just a beautiful thing. And because of all of this, they get a broadened view of the world. They're not limited to their thinking of what it is to just live in one country, operate in one culture, speak one language, have one level of cuisine. My oldest loves sushi, loves sushi. My baby loves pop. She also calls it ugali. She loves, they're loving and experiencing these different cultures and the different foods and dynamics that some of us don't even get access to until we're adults. So it's been really beautiful to see. I think, you know, obviously for me, the pros, the joys outweigh the challenges, but I'll share some of the challenges as well, because they do exist. And if this is resonating and if this is helpful, please be sure to like it and share it with someone who would find value in it as well. And at the end of the video, I'm going to give you a special offer for parents that are looking to make this move abroad and how I can directly support you in that journey. All right, so challenges, cultural and language barriers. I'd say we had less of that. I know sometimes when people start talking to my oldest in a foreign language, she just looks at them like a deer in headlights. Like, she's like, And I have to encourage her, speak up, let them know, hey, I don't understand you, but you know, I'm learning that language, or do you speak English? Like, to assert herself, to assert her power. And you know, she kind of freezes in the moment, but we're working through that. I think because she's in school and she's immersed with African children and has been since we first got here, it creates that level of empathy and understanding that makes the cultural and language barriers less uncomfortable, right? Again, my little one, she'll just start speaking back in a language that she understands. She won't even stop. She'll be like, she'll start speaking her language, and it's hilarious to watch, and people appreciate it and they laugh along too. I think the adjustment to the new environment and social norms, I honestly, again, like, they don't struggle with that. Like, it's not been a struggle for them at all. But I will say, you know, as I mentioned, the community aspect, that distance from family and friends has probably been the hardest thing for my girls, and mostly my oldest, because she had really strong relationships in Tanzania, really strong relationships in the US that she remembers. And so maintaining those relationships is a challenge. I know that I invite our friends and family to visit us, and a lot of them will talk about they're coming. And so because things are a little bit crazy in the US right now and have been for a while, and I think we're just realizing it, we're less apt to travel back to America, but maybe we'll get there eventually if they can curb some of the gun laws, because that's really the biggest issue. We encourage our family and friends to travel and come visit us, and that we can host them and also give them new experiences. So I'd say that's the biggest challenge. If you have children that are really, really close with their grandparents, their parents, their friends, that can be a challenge. But we're in a digital age where we can absolutely schedule Zoom calls. Consistency comes in the form of reaching out and making sure that you stay connected with those family and friends, and that they also feel encouraged to reach out to you. I think I find that a lot of times people just assume that because we decided to make this move, that level of independence is something that we're choosing, where the reality is what I'm choosing is safety, what I'm choosing is security for myself and my children. But we still love and want and need your love and support, even if it is thousands of miles away from another continent. So family, if you're watching, you can always feel free to reach out to us, and I'm happy to reach out too and continue that. But anytime you're thinking of us, you can give us a call. All right, so here are just a couple strategies for what it looks like to raise your children abroad so that you can have the best successful experience that I've learned from my experience, right? Foster a sense of belonging to both cultures. I think we can sometimes find ourselves in limbo. I notice a lot of expats just want to really stay close to expats, and a lot of other aspects just want to really immerse in the culture. And there's a balance. And I think finding that balance is really healthy, because we were born in a country that has a certain way of operating, cultural norms, values, etc. And now we're immersing ourselves in a culture that has these different values and different sets of rules and guidelines, and both are extremely valuable. So finding a way to hold on to both, I found, is really, really helpful to create understanding, empathy, and just comfort and familiarity. The next thing is to embrace and appreciate those differences. And there are differences, obviously. I think one of the things that I love about South Africa is that there is a familiarity and experience, and we can relate. And the more and more I engage with adults, parents, grandparents, elders about their experience in South Africa, the more I'm just blown away. And I'll talk about that in another video, but I'm just blown away by the resiliency of South Africans, the brilliance of South Africans, and the compassion that they have for each other, and also the experience that they've had. And so that just deepens that understanding and the acceptance of different cultures when you're able to really connect and embrace and appreciate the differences. The next thing is prioritizing self-care and mental health. I absolutely talked about this in my last video, where I was super emotional and experiencing a lot of emotions, moving through those. And I'm absolutely, an emotional person that is always experiencing a different variety of emotions, including excitement, happiness, but then also sometimes fear, doubt. Like I'm human, having, this human experience. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, and I recognize that I go through different experiences of emotions, and because of that, I got to prioritize my mental care, my mental health, and self-care, and that includes moving my body, having my dance parties, tapping in with my therapist, my spiritual healers and advisors, and my journaling, all of that, my meditation. I prioritize that for sure, and making sure that I find time to engage the girls to do that as well. So we've created some new practices, like taking walks after dinner, and getting out in the sun and doing some meditation work. And I'll let you know how that's going, because that's new, because we would typically kind of just go in nature and go to the beach and have that time. But since we're far away from the beach, which is something that I connect to and my daughters connect to, because we're all fire signs, we now have to find alternative ways to support our mental health in this journey. But absolutely prioritize your mental health and self-care. Super important. And then connect with a supportive group of other expat families, and we're working on that. I recently got introduced to a couple of communities through WhatsApp, which I'm really grateful for, of just diasporans, but also women that have children, and we're connecting, as soon as like this weekend for some play dates. So those are things that are really, really helpful. As I mentioned, the pros, the joys for me outweigh the challenges. I'm so grateful that I've embarked on this journey. I'm so grateful that my children get to experience this journey, and I wouldn't trade it in for the world. And so if you or someone has an interest in making this move abroad with their children, the month of March, I'm giving away the Expat Prep Guide with children, free for everyone who has a one-on-one consult with me. So you're saving almost $200 with that course, that prep guide, and I will support you through email and ongoing as you take your journey and prepare yourself for your life here on the continent. So if that was helpful, please be sure to like it. Again, share it with someone who would find value in it. And if you have an interest in working with me, I'd love to support you on your journey. You can connect with me via the link below. And again, for the month of March, you'll get access to a free course around supporting you and your children in this journey. So until the next video, I'll see you soon.